Okay, so we have our, this is the last video I'm doing on horizontal asymptotes. Like we were doing before, so if we want to find horizontal asymptotes, I was plugging in really big numbers for x to find out what happens eventually on the right side, and plugging in really big negative numbers to find out eventually what happens on the left side. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to plug in the big numbers first. So I'm going to say negative log base 3 of, and I'm going to do just a really big number, minus 2 plus 1. Well, a really big number, minus 2 is like still just a really big number, right? Like I think if I have $1 trillion and I spend $2 on a donut, I'm like, you know what, I basically still have $1 trillion. Like I'm not, it's still a big number. Okay, so now this is where I know a lot of us get stuck because we're like, oh gosh, what the heck are logarithms? This number right here just means what is the exponent? Like 3 to what exponent will give me a very big number? Well, if I want to make a big number, I should probably, like, wait, 3 squared is like not a big number. That's like 3 to the 9. Or, say, I'm an idiot. 3 squared is like 9. It's not like a super big number. Like, I have 9 siblings. That's not a joke. So that's not like huge, right? Okay, but what if I'm like, okay, 3 to the 10th? That's like a fairly big number, but again, it's not like a trillion gazillion. So if I want to make a really big number, I have to raise this to a big exponent. So this exponent is the exact same thing as log base 3 of this big exponent. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative, right? Because, this was just a big number. So I'm going to write big plus 1. Okay. Well, now I have a negative big number plus 1, which is like still basically just like a negative big number. It's like negative $1 trillion or something like that, right? So I don't know what happens in the middle of my function. Crazy stuff happens. Except not actually. You could probably just plug in numbers or something. But I don't know what happens in the middle. But eventually on the right side, my function just goes down. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, but in the negatives. So it keeps going down forever and ever. Okay. So does it look like it has a horizontal asymptote yet? Not really. I mean, maybe, but I don't. We have to check what happens in the left side, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and check what happens on the left side. So if I plug in a really big negative number, I'm going to get negative log base 3 of like a negative big number minus 2 plus 1. So a negative log base 3 of, let's see, if I owe like $1 trillion and I owe $2, I still just owe like about $1 trillion, right? I still just owe a ton. Like I'm broke. Okay. So now, just like before, we have to figure out if we want to know what this log base 3 of a negative big number is. What that means is 3 to the what power is a negative number? Well, I don't, like, just so you guys know, if I take 3 and I raise it to any power, like if I take 3 to the 7th, that's just going to be positive, right? If I take 3 to the 0, that's just the number 1. If I take 3 to the negative 5, that's 3 over, sorry, that's like 3 to the negative 5. That's 1 over 3 to the 5th, which is still a positive number. In fact, there is no number I can plug in here to make this a negative number. So that means on my left side, like most of the numbers over here, I actually can't even plug into my function. And if you wanted to double check, since anything like 3 to the anything power has to be bigger than 0, the only way that this can the only things I can plug in to make this function work is anything that makes this greater than or equal to 0, or sorry, not greater than or equal to, it has to be just bigger than 0 in order for my function to make sense. So as you can see, my domain is like the things I can plug in for x are only things greater than 2. So actually, I don't even have to try plugging in any negative big numbers because nothing happens to the left side. There is nothing to the left side to make this function work, which means if there's nothing to the left side and on the right side we don't have a horizontal asymptote, right? It just keeps going down forever. That means I don't have a horizontal asymptote. And I know some of you are wondering, well, is that the case all the time? Pretty much. I mean, like, whenever you have like a log-based something, there's pretty much never a horizontal asymptote. Um, there might be like some weird exceptions, but whenever you just see like a normal like log like this, maybe it has a +1, maybe a negative, there's not going to be a horizontal asymptote, okay? The exceptions are things that are like outside of this class or outside of this class so far, so don't worry about them. Generally, when you can see this, you go, oh, no horizontal asymptotes, easy, and then you're all done with your problem, okay? So that kind of went into 3 of the main functions that we've been looking at with regards to like the end behavior, which is the stuff that happens way on the left or way on the right. That's called the end behavior of the graph, and that helps us find our horizontal asymptote. But I hope you guys have seen how we can use the end behavior, right? Plugging in really, really big numbers and really, really big negative numbers to find your horizontal asymptote. And then hopefully the ending where I just show you kind of like the quote unquote trick will help you feel more confident to do it quicker on a test or on a homework or something like that. Again, if you have questions, email your TA, work with other people, study hard. You guys got this. Hope this helps.